For centuries upon centuries, people have been called to join movements led by the most malicious leaders possible. How are people so prone to follow leaders and teachings that so obviously violate our innate moral code? How are all these great leaders able to trance others into doing actions that were previously inconceivable? Adolf Hitler managed to convince an entire country, millions of people, that a single race, the Jewish race, was responsible for all the ill fortune that fell upon Germans and the rest of the world. Benito Mussolini of Italy and Joseph Stalin of Russia, they believed that people were inferior to the government. This led to authoritarianism, the deconstruction of human individualism, and mass death. Mao Zedong dispelled individual and intellectual thinking and instead encouraged blind faith towards him and his regime. Zedong killed tens of millions of people during his reign in China, yet he is still revered by many of the people there. How could people support and continue to support leaders like this? How do people get pulled into this? And more importantly, how can we avoid it?
My name is Elliot Smith. I'm a current hippie and former member of the Charles Manson family cult. The qualities that Charles Manson had was charismatic. Charismatic's an understatement. This man was controlling. He had fear, especially with the ladies. He love-bombed them. He love-bombed them to do his bidding. He made them think he was the Messiah. He made me think he was the Messiah. That's why I joined. It's kind of how he attracted people to his cult, I would say. He presented his followers with kind of an idealistic world of what the 60s should be like. He used what was popular at the time to really drive it home, to help us join that cult. His favorite song, he said, was Helter Skelter by the Beatles. I don't know, man. It was all fishy to me, but I went along with it at the time. He said it was something about starting a race war. He really just dove into like the 60s world, I feel. He used like peace, love, communal living. I loved that part, man. He kind of presented himself as like a guru, a spiritual guru, honestly. Kind of like aligned with the era's values, and he really like masked his true intentions behind that era. He almost gained loyalty from this family that he created, man. I really joined Manson's cult because I was feeling alone and vulnerable at the time. He exploited these qualities in me to help me and make me worship him. Overall, man, Charles Manson was a terrible dude. I'm glad I got out of there quickly because I don't know where I would be, probably in jail.
And I used to be a member of the cult, the family. It was a cult in Australia, and I moved to America to get away from it. Coming out of the cult, one of the first things that surprised me was how small most families are. Our family was huge. We had aunts, uncles, one mom, no dad. Believed she was Jesus. Just a couple kids is what most people have. Maybe just one in the group, father, mother, not as many aunts and uncles, and they look different. Most of them look different. We all tried to look the same. Bleached our hair. It was rough. From what I've observed, since leaving, families in Australia have become more flexible and open. And the cult family structure was rigid. The father was the head, women were submissive, and children were expected to obey without question, otherwise we would be beaten or drugged with LSD, ecstasy, and other drugs, with physical abuse and emotional abuse. We had to face many different things. I grew up in a household that was separated from the rest. Our hair matched with our mother's, and she had blonde hair, so we had bleached ours and dyed it. We all wore similar clothing. It was tough. It was really tough. And we were separated from the rest of the world. We were kept on this compound outside of Sydney, Australia, out on a farm, and kept from everyone, kept from everything. We would be drugged and beaten and just emotionally damaged if we ever disobeyed, talked back, or did anything. to upset other. But I just want to say that I'm sorry for anybody who had to go through what I had to go through. It was rough and wouldn't wish that upon anybody.
My name is Cooper Hanman, and I have a PhD in psychology, and I've been studying the Children of God, also known as the Family International, for the past 10 years of my life. I want to start with the leader. His name is David Berg. David Berg deemed himself as one of the end-time prophets of God, which is one of the main reasons why he was able to get people to join. And the way he did this is he was a very sick-minded individual, and what he wanted to do with this cult is basically twist the teachings of Christianity and overblow them into proportion compared to normal Christianity. So what he did was he took the main properties of Christianity, but instead of teaching that, he made them very twisted and evil in a way. And the way he got people to join, he got very vulnerable individuals, such as people who don't have a great relationship with their parents, seeking about religion and don't know what religion they belong to, and also people that have just been through a lot and need a sort of a mentor, and that's what David Berg tried to give to them. Some of the common practices in this cult were mainly, like I said, like the Christian aspect. However, David Berg sent he referred to himself as Moses, and he sent a lot of these letters, which were just many doctrines and sacred texts that just bombarded these individuals. And once they were in this cult, there's no getting out. There was no outside influence. It was a very tight-knit group of people, which kept them staying in for a long time through the 60s and 70s. How did they get people to join this cult? Well, they used a form of flirting fishing, where the women in the group would use sex in order to get the men to follow them, and which then David Berg would use his letters and sacred text writings in order to get them to join the group.
Jim Jones was a very charismatic figure. He started preaching around 1960 and founded his church called the People's Temple in 1970. His church focused on the blend of socialist and Christian ideals. Jim Jones believed in equality between the black and the white man, and was a uniting force for the civil rights movement. Jones was known for his hospitality and willingness to help others. The People's Temple was located in San Francisco, California, which had a very high concentration of impoverished individuals, and Jones exploited that. He often preached about equality and the corruptness of the government, religion, and just about everything else. He essentially, over a period of 8 years, morally isolated his congregation. Then, in 1978, Jones moved his congregation to Jonestown, Guyana. There, he and his church set up camp, and even though he preached socialism, the camp became more like slave labor, and the US government went to investigate. Leo Ryan, a congressman, tried to bring some of the members back to the US via airplane, when he was attacked and killed by other members of the cult. Jones had completed his rise to power, but he had become too full of himself and became bitter and angry. After the attack on the congressman, Jones ordered his congregation to drink a poison in which 900 people did so willingly. They all died, including 200 children, and Jones himself via a gunshot wound to the head. What happened that day can never be forgotten, but I can pinpoint 2 principles as to why this occurred. The first is the rule of reciprocation. When you do someone a favor, or buy someone a gift, or just do anything nice, the other person feels indebted towards you. This feeling of indebtedness can induce compliance that would not have otherwise occurred. As I stated earlier, Jones was eager to do everything for everyone. So when he told people to drink the poison, their compliance can be attributed to the power of reciprocity. The second principle would be social proof. When people are uncertain, they often resort to what other people are doing. If you were sitting in a restaurant and everyone started running out, you would probably run out too. In context, the people of Jonestown found themselves in an unfamiliar environment in the jungle and found peace in doing what others around them were doing. Except in this case, those others were under the influence of Jim Jones. So when people drank the poison, it wasn't because they wanted to die. It was because they saw the people they had known for 8 years, and possibly longer, all do the same thing. Therefore, as you can see, we can attribute Jim Jones' success as an influential leader, not to his charismatic personality and charming messages, but to his rudimentary understanding of human psychology.